Hey guys, today I'm going to be doing my Hispanic Heritage Month wrap up. I have 4 books to talk about. I'll have all of the books linked down below with a link to their Goodreads page so you can check them out and see if you'd like to try them. I'm going to just jump right in because I have a feeling this video might be really long. So the first book that I read was How the Garcia Girls Lost Their Accents by Julia Alvarez. This is the story of 4 girls who grow up in the Dominican Republic and they immigrate to the United States in the late 1960s. This is after Trujillo takes over. This is essentially a short story collection, and all of the stories are told in reverse chronological order, so we start from the present and slowly move towards the past. Every story is different and deals with a different type of subject matter, but I feel like the main theme is identity, cultural identity, identity in your family, identity as an immigrant. All of those things kind of play a role here. And I really enjoyed it. I love Alvarez's writing style. I feel like it really shines with these stories. At first, I didn't know it was a short story collection because it doesn't read like a typical short story collection, because all of the stories are kind of related. You know, it's always the same characters and the same situation, and you can kind of center yourself, even though it's a completely new chapter with something completely different. All 4 sisters are unique in their own way. I really liked the reverse chronological aspect of it. I didn't think I would like it at first because we're kind of, instead of seeing the sisters grow up, we kind of see them grow younger. And I thought that it was kind of a different way of going about it. I still felt like each sister was unique, and it was very interesting to kind of see their perspective as young girls when they don't really know exactly what's going on with their father. They just know that things are changing, and so they go from a very comfy lifestyle in the Dominican Republic to one in the United States. I identified with it a lot. I know what it's like to be in a new country, you don't know the language, and feeling like you are part of 2 cultures, American and Hispanic. So I definitely enjoyed this. I loved kind of the way that Alvarez chose to write it. I just really love her writing style, and it makes me want to pick up In the Time of the Butterflies, which was the first book that I read by her and I also really enjoyed. And then the next one that I read was Reputations by Juan Gabriel Vasquez, and this was translated by Anne McLean. This was a beautiful translation. It's one of the few books that I read that I was like, wow, whoever translated this really gave it their all, because the book is just beautifully written. This is the story of a man named Mayarino, or Malarino, however you want to say it. He is a political cartoonist living in Bogota, Colombia, and he is kind of living anonymously, but always speaks his mind when he's writing or drawing a cartoon. He prides himself on having a lot of influence in the political culture of Bogota. He is able to comment on it and has an influence on it. So what happens is that after a career spanning 40 years, he's visited by a young woman who was directly affected by one of the cartoons that he drew. And so he kind of has an identity crisis when he figures out that over the years, and in this particular case, his cartoon did have consequences on people's lives, and in what way. And so the story kind of goes from there, where Malarino has to kind of look back on his life and how he became the renowned political cartoonist that he is. Malarino himself is kind of an unreliable narrator. He's narrating the story, we're inside of his head, but he has such a massive ego that it kind of blinds him to a lot of things that as a reader we can kind of see. So that makes it a very interesting point of view. He's a very flawed character, and that makes him very interesting to read about and read from. And it adds just this whole layer to the story that, you know, we wouldn't really have gotten if it was somebody else looking from the outside in. So I really enjoyed that. Like I said, this was a beautiful translation. I loved the prose in this. It was just stunning. It was a really short book, but it really packed a punch. And while I didn't love the ending, I understood it because of the narrator. You know, I have to take him at his word. I have to, you know, I'm at the mercy of however he decides to tell the story. So yeah, that's my only little criticism, but I really loved this. I gave it 4 stars. The next one I read was Talking to Ourselves by Andres Neumann. This was translated by Nick Kaystor or Kaystor. I don't know how to say his last name. I was not a fan of this. This did not work for me. This is basically the story of a family of a father, a mother, and a young son. The father has a terminal illness, and he's taking his son for like a last little road trip, and the mom is kind of staying behind in the house. And the whole premise of this story is that we talk to ourselves in various ways, and in this book the author has decided to demonstrate how we talk to ourselves using 3 different mediums, which is a diary, just by, you know, our thoughts, and then recording. He uses those 3 mediums to kind of give 3 different points of view to tell the story. The reason this didn't work for me, and this is kind of a pet peeve I have with a lot of authors, is that I don't know why, but I feel like, and I'm just generalizing here, that a lot of authors think that doing a story different points of view is the easy way out, or a better way to get more perspectives of the story. But I feel like a lot of them don't realize that it is incredibly difficult to get it right. And if you don't get it right, stories like these just don't work. For example, the voice recording that he uses, this was my favorite perspective. It was the father leaving a voice recording, and the way that the author chose to write it, it was like one long sentence spanning over like 3 or 4 chapters, and it just read like I'm reading stream of consciousness rather than someone speaking in a voice recorder. It's almost like he wanted to add this stream of consciousness style to the point of view, but it didn't work because I knew it was a voice recording. So I'm expecting this person to talk like a normal person. And then the mother, Elena, she's writing a diary. Well, of course, this is no diary that I've ever read, or no way that I would ever write a diary, but whatever, I can get past that. And then add to that the fact that Elena is one of the most unlikable characters I have ever read. She is somebody that is incredibly selfish, but then again, we're being told that she's a good mom. Like, you know, in her diary entry, she's always worried about her son. So you're like, oh yeah, you're a good mom. But I just could not put the 2 together because her choices are so weird and erratic and just crazy. I just cannot understand this woman in any way. And it's not like I have to understand every character. It's not like I have to like a character, but I really need to understand a character's intentions. I need to, if I am reading a character's diary, then I need to know why they're thinking what they're thinking and how those thoughts are propelling them into action. And then Leto, the last point of view, where inside of his head he's telling us, you know, his experiences with his father. He does not think like any 10-year-old I know. And this is something that I hate about child narrators. It's almost like authors forget how children think, and it kind of takes me out of the story because I know in my mind this isn't a 10-year-old child. And I could tell that he would put in little phrases here and there to kind of remind us that we're reading a child's point of view. But, you know, we're talking about pages and pages and pages that I'm reading here, and then 5 sentences aren't going to cut it. So it didn't work for me. I ended up giving it 2 stars. I'm debating whether I want to give him another chance because I was just so like irritated with this book, but I think I will, just because there's not a lot of Latin authors out there, and I can kind of see what he was trying to do. He was trying to do things in a different way, and I appreciate that. It just didn't work for me. And then the last book was a book by Garcia Marquez, so I was really happy to end my Hispanic Heritage Month on a good note. This was Of Love and Other Demons, and this is a very short novel. I think it's about 150 pages, and it tells the story of a 12-year-old named Sierva Maria, and she is thought to be possessed after she's bitten by a rabid dog. So her father sends her to a convent, and in that convent, Father de Laura falls in love with her, and they kind of fall for each other, which, you know, this is Marquez. That's the essential premise. But the thing that I'm realizing about Marquez is that he's not an author that you can just give someone a premise and then that person's going to understand the magic of Marquez. He's an author you have to read for yourself. Is he for everyone? No. But is he an author you can describe in a few words? Hell no. Are his stories that you can condense and kind of explain and you can kind of get an idea? No, it's impossible. He turns them on their head so much that they read like nothing you've ever read before. It's a story that has a bunch of things going on in it, like all of Marquez's books. There's magical realism, there's characters that are crazy memorable. There are beautiful passages of prose, and the way he describes the setting, you just cannot explain it. You know, you have to read it for yourself. If you read this and you don't like it, then you probably won't like any of his other books. If you read this and you love it, then definitely pick up his other novels and other shorter books. Because it has kind of a little bit of everything that makes him so unique. I'm really happy that was the last one that I read because, like I said, I ended the month on a good note. So those were all the books that I read for Hispanic Heritage Month. Let me know down in the comments what you read for Hispanic Heritage Month. What was your favorite book? Do you have any recommendations for me? Let me know down below. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you guys in my next video.